Duckworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, like everyone else, am praying for all the family members and thinking about the crew of the Black Hawk and all the people that we lost last night. I would like to caution that before we start calling it a training accident, that we have better idea of what exactly happened, because a training accident has very specific definitions. So please be careful about that. It tends to then start to blame the pilots, and frankly, our military pilots are some of the best trained in the world. Earlier this week, the Trump administration imposed a funding freeze on all federal grants and loans. Even though the OMB memo was rescinded yesterday, the freeze has not been rescinded. Mr. Driscoll, what is your position on the legality of that funding freeze?
Senator, before answering your question, I very sincerely, last night I was sitting watching what occurred on TV with a friend from 10th Mountain who was the down chopper, one of the platoons that had to deal with that in Afghanistan, and watching the struggle and heartbreak as he had to relive those moments. We actually reflected in the moment. I want to take a quick moment to say very sincerely, thank you for your service. I know it was an immense sacrifice, soldier to soldier. I'm sorry for what you've had to go through. To your question, the legality of the, would you mind repeating it?
Was the order from President Trump, his current order to pause all grant funding legal?
Senator, I haven't been able to take a good, deep enough look to know whether it was legal or not, but I would not believe that the president would issue an illegal order.
You don't believe that the president of the United States can issue an illegal order?
I don't believe President Trump would do that, Senator.
So, okay, that leads me to my next question. If President Trump directed you to do something illegal, would you refuse to obey?
I reject the premise of the question, Senator, that he would, but I would not. I would only follow lawful orders.
And constitutional ones?
And constitutional ones.
Okay. If confirmed, will you commit to dispersing all obligated grant funding from the Department of the Army on time and without delay?
I would follow all lawful requirements of my job if confirmed, Senator.
Okay. I'd like to follow up on our meeting last week. To be candid, you performed very poorly in your conversation with me. I asked you, for example, how many personnel are in a division, and you told me 3,500. You just recently, when I came in, were answering my colleague from Alaska's questions about brigade combat teams. How many personnel are in an average brigade combat team?
Senator, I imagine the purpose of this question is to get to my qualifications as a leader.
No, I want you to answer the question.
Senator,
what is the? Do you not know? If you don't know, that's okay.
Senator, I assume.
Answer my question. How many personnel are in an? Because you performed very well today, and I've been impressed because it looks like you actually did some homework. But you spoke with conviction about the number of brigade combat teams that the Army needs to be effective. Can you tell me how many soldiers are in a brigade combat team?
35,
on average.
3,500.
Great, thank you. See, that would have been so much easier. But I know you're filibustering. I get it. What's FM 3-0?
Senator, I believe all of these questions are going to be.
What is FM 3-0?
I actually was reading it last night, Senator. It's the Army's training manual.
Operations.
Operations manual.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're doing your homework. See, this is working because you're doing your homework, which you did not do because you couldn't name a country in Africa where we have troops when I asked you.
Senator,
what is your views on force posture generally, and the components and elements of force posture, as well as your understanding of the Army's current force posture?
Senator, I believe that the President of the United States chose me specifically because of my experience set that your colleagues
You're not
have
answering.
referenced.
Does that mean that you do not have an opinion on the Army's current force posture? It's my job. It's my job to advise and consent on the nominees that the President puts forward. Just because a President puts forward a nominee does not mean that person is automatically qualified to do the job. My question to you is, sir, as someone who will become Secretary of Army if confirmed, what is your current opinion of the Army's force posture, and can you describe the elements of that force posture?
Absolutely, Senator. And to your Africa comment, West Africa and Horn of Africa, and that was, I did study after you asked me that question, so I'm grateful for the question.
Answer my question on force posture.
We need to be prepared, Senator, for a threat from China, a peer that we have not.
I'm not asking you about near-peer threats. I'm asking you about the force posture.
We need our forces postured all over the world to
What
respond.
are the components of the force posture?
Senator, I believe that the
The
question...
answer is military disposition, strength, and condition and readiness of the military. It's in FM 3-0 operations, which you were last night. You were reading last night. Can you outline for me the key capabilities of the Army is supposed to provide the combatant command?
Senator, you can ask that question for the record. Your time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rescued by the chairman.
Senator Budd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, can I add FM 3-0, the Army's operations manual for the record, include in the record?
Well, without objection, but let me ask you this. How many pages does that consist of?
It's quite a few pages, actually, but it's a basic reading for anybody who's gone through the officer's basic course, which I believe you have completed. Have you not, Mr. Driscoll?
Senator, it's 350 pages approximately.
There you go.
So you really do want us to go to the expense of reprinting something that's widely available? Could we just refer to it?
That is acceptable to me, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Senator Budd.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. And again, welcome, Mr.